love to talk, in addition to Full Gear, about the AEW Continental Classic. That's something I'm very excited about, and given the opportunity, I'll gladly discuss. We got a lot of really exciting things coming up. It's been our biggest year ever. In addition to the Continental Classic, we've also got very exciting things like the aforementioned Wembley on sale. Really excited about AEW All In. It's really just days away that we go on sale, and it's a historic event for us, and a really big swing to try something like that again and build that kind of goodwill with our UK fans that we have. And also really excited, speaking of the Continental Classic, about AEW World's End, which is where the Continental Classic will culminate. And we had an announcement earlier tonight about the Continental Classic that I would love to address. Eddie Kingston came to me, and as he said in his promo, and nobody could say these things better than Eddie Kingston, he was willing to put his money where his mouth is. He asked me about the Continental Classic, and it has really piqued his interest. I think Eddie Kingston loves the Japanese style of wrestling and is a historian of pro wrestling, Japanese wrestling, and all wrestling, and something that I share. And I talked about the great field, and we've announced great wrestlers already. Bryan Danielson, Mark Briscoe, Andrade El Idolo, and we have a great field coming together. And Eddie Kingston asked me about joining, and he asked about it, and of course we have a very different kind of tournament. It's single elimination. It's a very different format, which is the Owen Hart Foundation Cup Tournament, and it's held in the summer. It's a very different kind of tournament, and we award the Owen Hart Cup winner a trophy and a championship belt. In this case, with the Continental Classic and all the excitement about it, it got a lot of buzz. Not just because people are excited about the round robin format, but people got excited when we announced the first competitor in the field as Bryan Danielson, coming back before anybody thought it was going to be possible. I think people got excited when we've announced that there'll be nobody allowed at ringside. We're going to completely shut down any interference by all means necessary, and these are going to be straight great wrestling matches. On the scoring, I have taken something that I have found is really effective in English football and really motivates people to go for the win and fight it out, and will create exciting possibilities in this format, and is a little bit different from what people have seen in other round robin wrestling tournaments, is 3 points for a win, 1 point for a draw. And with 3 points for a win, 1 point for a draw, as you've seen in European football, and I think comparing it to what we've seen in other tournaments where 2 points for a win, 1 point for a draw, people will be really motivated to go after it, to go and chase. And people are really excited about the Continental Classic. And when Eddie Kingston came to me, something he said was, there's a lot of championships, a lot of trophies in wrestling, and Eddie Kingston, he called his life's work to unify the New Japan Strong Openweight Championship with the Ring of Honor World Championship. And it's a big deal to me as the owner of Ring of Honor that the Ring of Honor World title is unified with the New Japan title. That really means something about the relationship between the companies, and also adds further credibility and prestige to the Ring of Honor World Championship. Now, when Eddie asked me about this tournament, he said, I'm not going into this as the champion and reducing the credibility of these belts. If I go into this as the champion, whoever wins should be the New Japan Strong Openweight Champion. They should be the Ring of Honor World Champion, and of course the winner of the Continental Classic. So it creates something very interesting. Eddie Kingston's put his money where his mouth is, so Eddie Kingston's officially entered the field, but now the winner of this tournament will be not only the AEW Continental Classic winner, they will be the New Japan Strong Openweight Champion and the Ring of Honor World Champion, to be the champion in 3 different companies, something we've never seen here in America, and something very exciting. And we've had similar situations, I think, but the New Japan Strong Openweight Championship being defended here on American soil, it creates an interesting situation. Really, the only thing close to this was when Kenny Omega had, of course, unified championships. Even in that case, it was an international title he held. So to hold championships of 3 different promotions here in one country, it's pretty historic for whoever wins the AEW Continental Classic. It was really gutsy of Eddie to put up his titles to enter the tournament, but I think it speaks to the kind of champion he is. But also now we know whoever wins this tournament is going to come away with a very, very prestigious title, and it's actually not just creating more championships in wrestling, it's actually consolidation, but more important, it's cooperation. Because what this Triple Crown means, that the winner of this tournament, which is going to be a great field that we're going to be announcing in the coming days as we approach Wednesday Night Dynamite on Thanksgiving Eve, it's going to be creating a championship that's very prestigious and a champion that represents 3 different companies on American soil and 3 different companies worldwide. So I'm really excited about that. And now I can start taking questions, but just wanted to kind of give you guys a little bit more information about the Continental Classic.
So are you unifying all 3 titles then?
Yes. The winner of the tournament will be the Ring of Honor World Champion. They will be, and New Japan has cleared this, that Eddie is their champion, and New Japan is aware, and that the winner of the AEW Continental Classic will be the New Japan Strong Openweight Champion. They'll be the Ring of Honor World Champion, and they will be the AEW Continental Champion. So we are unifying all 3 titles.
Will those titles go away?
No, it will be a Triple Crown, and forming a Triple Crown of 3 titles. It'll be the Ring of Honor World title, the New Japan Strong Openweight title, and this tournament. And what's really great is I think we found something here. There's a lot of excitement about the Continental Classic, so it creates a venue. So what I'm excited about is that the winner of this tournament will go out, defend the championships throughout the year, and whoever at this time next year is the champion will have another huge field to participate in. And we have a lot of excitement about this, and people clamoring to enter. And in the coming days, I believe you'll see a lot of the most exciting young stars and some of the top stars in AEW all are lining up for this opportunity. And it is an exciting opportunity because people ask, what the Continental Classic, what does it represent? Well, it represents something very important, a competition in AEW against other top stars, but also something more prestigious, because for the champion of 2 other companies to step in and say, I want to be in this competition, and if I'm in this competition and I don't win it, then whoever wins should be the champion of the companies I'm the champion of. And in this case, the winner of this will unify 3 different promotions championships, which has been a novel idea when we've seen it before, and frankly, it piqued my interest. Of course, Kenny collected belts, and at one point I think had built a very impressive collection of championship belts of different promotions. And in All Japan Pro Wrestling, you have different championship belts, the PWF and the NWA United National, and different promotions. So I named 2 of them. Does anybody know what the 3rd belt in the All Japan Triple Crown is, besides maybe Jim? And even if, or does even Jim know the 3rd belt in the All Japan? Okay, then so again, like the All Japan Triple Crown, I feel like it's been around for so long that people, and I'm in a room full of wrestling media, and that does, to some point, I think the identity of the Triple Crown consumed each of the individual titles.
You want me to say it?
Please.
NWA International.
Thank you. And the International. So there are 3 champs, and Corey, I appreciate Corey shouting it out at this point. But so really, the United National, the International, and the PWF title, I think the Triple Crown that All Japan created is a great example of synergy, where the sum is greater than the whole of the individual parts. And potentially, I think that's what we have the opportunity to see here, and have the winner of the Continental Classic, which is a very prestigious AEW competition, go on to represent 3 different wrestling promotions, which I think is really exciting, and take on the commitments of a touring champion in different promotions, which is something that is a throwback in many ways, but also like a very new and exciting thing. And so the really cool thing about it to me is that the winner is going to be crowned in a tournament with no outside interference, because there's not going to be anybody allowed at ringside, and with a great field of great pro wrestlers. And I think in AEW, we've got a great mix of things, and it's, along the lines of what Max said when he came in earlier, I think rang true, talking about you get all these different great styles of pro wrestling, and to see everything under the sun. Certainly the Texas Death Match did throw pretty much everything but the kitchen sink at us, and you can see some of the wildest spectacles in wrestling. But I do think for fans of the sport of wrestling and people who want to see a great wrestling competition, I think that's what they'll also get in the Continental Classic.
Couple over here.
Hi, Tony. Thank you. Russ Weekland from the Daily Mail. Wonderful news about the Continental Classic, but we have to talk Wembley.
Yes.
Logistical preparations for it. Clearly, you hit it out of the park this past August, but now it's a whole new thing this time around. So please discuss.
Thank you. I'm really excited to talk, and I really appreciate you visiting us, and thank you for giving us the chance to talk to you about it. This is going to be very different, and of course you talked about the logistics. From a preparation standpoint, this is going to be a very different challenge for AEW. The load-in is a very different schedule than what we had last year. If you look at the calendar of Wembley Stadium events for August of 2024, you'll see that scheduled ahead of us is Taylor Swift. And Taylor Swift being scheduled at Wembley Stadium ahead of AEW is a big deal. And I have some interesting stories about how all of this came to be and where we're at. It's very, very fun. So when Wembley approached us about our load-in and about these Taylor Swift shows, there was an opportunity for them to add more shows, and we are going to do everything we can to abbreviate our load-in time. So basically, they came to us and said it would help us out a lot if you could load in your show faster, because we'd have the opportunity to have more Taylor Swift shows, and could you guys do that? And we said, well, it'll be costly and very challenging, and we really would like to help you out, and so yeah, I will. So I'm gonna do it, and I think there's so many great Taylor Swift fans, and Wembley's been great to us. We have a great relationship, and it's gonna cost more, and we'll double our efforts, and hopefully score points with a lot of great fans and a great community of Taylor Swift fans. So if we can make more Taylor Swift shows in London possible by speeding up our load-in, and I pay a little bit extra to do so, but we still have a great event at Wembley. Everybody wins, and I'm not going to get crushed or killed in the process, so I'm fine with that. And I think a little bit of extra money and a little bit of extra human power getting the show put on, it's worth it. So Wembley's going to get more Taylor Swift shows than they would have, and there's going to be a great AEW All-In London, and from the logistical standpoint, that'll be a little bit of a different challenge because we won't have as much time to set up as we did, but I'm also happy to accommodate that because I think that's going to be good karma for us. And and then in addition to that, I believe that yeah, it's good. I do think it's going to be good karma, and I also think really to bring in a star like Will Ospreay ahead of going on sale in London, and to be able to bring one of England's greatest wrestlers of my lifetime, and somebody that the British wrestling fans are going to be so happy to see, and fans all over the world want to come see. I think that's really big, and we just have so many exciting things happening in AEW. It was a great show. You heard the fan reactions tonight, start to finish. I mean, we had really, really great fan engagement tonight and great pay-per-view numbers. There's a lot of exciting things happening, and now certainly the biggest thing in front of us in AEW is the Wembley on sale and AEW All In 2024. It's huge, and so it'll be a little bit different next year. We learned a lot from the load-in this year, and one thing we learned is that to make this happen, we'll definitely have to get more people. But I think it's going to be great, and I'm really excited about it. And there's just a lot of great things happening. So to go into the next few weeks and have December 1st, the Wembley AEW All In ticket on sale, and people can register now at ticketmaster.co.uk, and you can be a part of the pre-sale November 27th. And I think we've got a lot of interest in it, and certainly not only from fans in the UK, but we saw people travel from all over the world to come, and now with a lot of time to plan ahead, I think it's going to bode well for us. We have a lot of time to sell tickets, but I expect a great advance, and a lot of people buying AEW All-In tickets as holiday gifts, which works out really great for us too. Thank you for asking.
Maybe with your NFL connections, you could have Travis have a match.
yeah, that's interesting. Well, we will be playing against each other with the Jaguars and the Chiefs, I'm sure, and have had a lot of hard-hitting games. But if that would be a lot of fun too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Another over here.
Corey Lee with the Wrestling Observer. Now, obviously it was a great show tonight, but there was also something yesterday after Rampage that you really haven't talked about. So let's talk about it. Ronda Rousey. Is there a deal? Was this just a one-off, and also kind of explain, how this came out? Obviously, it was a tag match at Wrestling Revolver against Athena and Billy Starks that kind of ended in a no contest, which then obviously ended up having the match after the show. You actually didn't even mention that she was there. You just said that Marina's friend was in the building. So, is she signed, or basically, and how did this come about?
She's not signed, but we had a great conversation. It came about, of course, there was some unfinished business. They had that match, and I thought it would be great for our fans to settle it in the ring. And at the Wrestling Revolver show, they had the tag match, and to be honest, I'd spoken to them, and I thought it would be great to have a match and build some interest, and then have the story come back to Ring of Honor, where Athena is the Ring of Honor Women's World Champion. Billy Starks is her minion. There's a lot of interest in that. They have a great chemistry. For people who don't watch ROH every week, there's some really exciting things happening there. And Athena's reign as the Women's World Champion of ROH, and Billy Starks as her minion. It's some really entertaining stuff, and I thought that it would be great to see that tag team against two of the horsewomen, being Marina and Ronda Rousey. And Ronda was happy to come here, and she was great. The crowd was really excited to see her, and it was a great match. We'd love to have her back sometime. It was really fun being out here. She's a local. She's lives nearby, and that really helped make it possible. So anytime it's convenient, we'd love to have her back because she was tremendous. It was a great match. And if people want to see it, check out ROH.
Hector Diaz, Los Angeles Times. We had some great diverse crowds the last two nights at the Forum. Can you speak on the diversity of the AEW fan base in Los Angeles compared to other markets?
Well, it's a great question. I think LA's certainly a very international city, and stars from all over the world in AEW, and there's great fans from really all different backgrounds here in LA, and certainly it's great being here. It's one of our best crowds, and they were lively throughout the night, and it really helped make it, I thought, one of our great shows and some of our best matches.
Hi, TK Trinidad from Wrestling Talk. So a couple of questions. First, a lot of people thought that Mercedes Moné was going to be one of the people signed. That was kind of all in the universe. Have you had any talks with her at all?
Yeah, she was at AEW All In, and it was great having her as a part of the show. I have a ton of respect for Mercedes Moné. We'd love to have her anytime in AEW, and I think she's had great experience also with our partner New Japan Pro Wrestling, and so she would be a great addition to AEW anytime, and we'd always love to have her here. I have a ton of respect for her and have had great conversations with her, and I think the world of her.
A couple more right here in front.
Hey Tony, how's it going? Adrian Hernandez with the Sporting Tribune. First off, thank you for confirming that Taylor Swift is AEW. Signed with them. Can't look forward to those articles. But I do have a question for you. All In, obviously, huge event. Next year will be another huge event. Your competition is throwing a show in that same Europe area very soon to All In. Is it flattering to you to see that?
I don't know. I don't know exactly when and where that competition would be, but I do think we've definitely set the bar very high in Europe and worldwide. What we did last year at All In is historic, and it's something nobody can ever take away, and that's why 2023 is AEW's greatest year. That gate is not only our biggest gate, but it's, that's 10 record gates combined. When you do a $10 million gate, I don't think people put it in perspective. They're like, well, they had that one show that was pretty good. Yeah, it was like when people get impressed about people back in the day. I hear like old time wrestling people, and even inflation there's inflation, yes, but let's be realistic. Like people talk about like $100,000 gate. $10 million gate is $100,000 gates. 100. $10 million gate represents like an entire year of business for a very successful wrestling promotion in terms of live events. So it people underestimate how successful that event was, and also as a pay-per-view. And this has definitely been our biggest year. Tonight was another big success, well over 100,000 on pay-per-view again, which is great for AEW, but also really exciting to say that frankly, the kind of pay-per-view numbers we continue to put up at AEW, and it's been a very consistent thing. Nobody's done this since the 90s, and Adam, I can't. 13,000. Thank you. I couldn't see the number. I need to get. I don't know. I gotta. If I was at the DMV, I had asked Adam to put the attendance number. So we had over 13,000. I can confirm, and well over 100,000 on pay-per-view, and it was the biggest attendance in the history of Full Gear, which is really exciting because this is an event we've been doing since our first year, and the kind of pay-per-view numbers I was just about to say that we do. When we launched, nobody had been doing this as a challenger brand in wrestling since the 90s, and now we've been doing it for over 4 years consistently. And the really great thing is we've expanded the pay-per-view calendar and continue to see it. And we were able to add Wrestle Dream, which was a huge debut. The year before we added, of course, Forbidden Door, and these were huge debuts for us. But also then we launched All In this year, which I talked about, the $10 million gate, but also 200,000 pay-per-views, which is also 10 million gross on pay-per-view. So really, I think as a business success, like a lot of exciting things to look forward to, but certainly All In, almost I think people sometimes underestimate what a big success that is. And now I can't emphasize enough how important it is with the tickets going on sale. That's why I stressed it was a major announcement. It got people talking and reminded people that the ticket on sale is coming up, and I prioritize it. And we had a lot of other great things up our sleeve for the fans, but that's a high priority. The timing of Will Ospreay arriving here, I think that's really important. To have Will Ospreay, one of the greatest British wrestlers, arrive before we go to London and try to do something historic. We've already done something historic, but now to go back and take another swing like this, that's historic. It's a different approach to wrestling, and we're trying something different than what's been done, because there was a time when there were wrestling traditions, wrestling events year over year, but I think now to do a stadium show, the norm in wrestling has been to move it around. But I really believe in London, I really believe in the fans, and I really believe that London is a capital of the world. It's a place where people will travel from any destination, and it is a beacon And I think there are so many great fans in and around London, but also people that will travel there. And Wembley Stadium is such an iconic venue, and now it's associated with AEW. We have places that have really become part of our DNA. And to go back to Wembley Stadium and to be able to say that there's like a familiarity, that's really, really cool. And so to double up on what I was already saying, I think that it's going to be the biggest challenge and the biggest opportunity we've ever had. And it's also probably, definitely more so than any other reason why this has been the biggest year, 2023, in the history of AEW. Thank you. And Jim, what?
Yeah. Will Ospreay, how long had you been talking to him? When did you seal the deal? And then talking about all the success of this year, looking forward to 24, what do you want to do differently? What do you want to do better?
That's a lot. Okay, so I'll take them one by one. And so I'll start with Will Ospreay. And first of all, I really appreciate you being here. And Jim has overcome a lot to be here at wrestling shows. And I think Jim has a great story. We were talking earlier about great stories, Big Bill, and there's some other great stories here. And so I'm happy to answer all your questions, Jim. No, I really am. And so Will Ospreay, he has been talking to me since I got permission from New Japan, which was recent. And I asked New Japan Pro Wrestling, well, his contract's up. It's no secret. It'll be up early next year. And I think it would be great to keep Will in our family. And Will's such a great professional. Will's a really, really important star in our galaxy, and it means the world to have Will appear in AEW as a guest. And the thought that Will could leave our orbit and not be around us, and even more so, just the idea that Will could be here with us all the time. And in the limited amount of times he's been here, he's made just such a huge impact. He's been so great, and he's had some of the best matches in the history of AEW in the limited amount of time he spent with us, and to think what he could accomplish. Also, as I've said a couple times, and I can't stress it enough, we're very focused on Wembley Stadium. I think it's a big priority for me to be able to tell the fans before the tickets go on sale at Wembley Stadium, which I can't stress enough. Like when you look at the numbers and you do the $10 million gate and you sell 200,000 pay-per-views and you say, okay, well then that's like 20 million gross just on those aspects before you start looking at all the ancillary benefits. This is like a really big thing. And, we're not talking about small potatoes. This is a very, very big situation. And to go on sale, and when I look at attractive things, I could tell the fans in London about AEW All In. I want the people to know if they buy a ticket for themselves or for their friends and family or all of the above, I want them to know, hey, if you're picking up this ticket as a Christmas present or a birthday gift or buying early because you really care, I want you to know that you're going to see Will Ospreay at Wembley Stadium, and he's going to be with us next year, so there's no uncertainty. That was really important. And so I actually got that agreement done this week, and it was important to me because that on sale's coming up, Full Gear's coming up. This is the entertainment capital of the world. We have so many great members of the media from great publications, great wrestling publications. There's wrestling writers here, and there's people from great international publications. We've heard from the Daily Mail and the LA Times, and we've heard from the hardcore wrestling press, and it's a great mix. And the great thing is all you care about wrestling, and that's why you're here and stayed late to talk about this with us. So Will Ospreay signing is a really big deal. I thought it was something really important to get done, to have him at Full Gear, and to be able to explain he is going to finish out his commitments to New Japan, but he will be with us. And again, ahead of the Wembley on sale, I thought it was important, and also a great surprise for the fans here at the pay-per-view tonight. And as for then your other questions, Jim, I think you asked about Will, And then you kind of asked about 2023, 2024. Well, it's been interesting because I think 2023, something that I also saw in 2022, had to be changes with injuries. There was a period with a bunch of injuries. In particular, there's a week, and it was here. And there was no Scrum because it was not a pay-per-view event. But I imagine a good amount of you were here in June of 2022. I'm ignoring Tony Storm's lovely note. I'm still drinking the coffee, Tone. In June of 2022, we were here, and it's kind of amazing to think back, but it was so hard hit, and we had these injuries really bite us. And we had Bryan Danielson, CM Punk, and Adam Cole all get hurt in 1 week, and not even really in 4 days. They all got hurt bad, and it really shook up the company because that's multiple stories. It was like a large percentage of the TV product that they were involved in separate stories. It was like, it wasn't even just one story getting messed up. It was like across the show. And I've said it before. I've even said it to people who were in the room that I had really cool stuff called going into the first Forbidden Door. And we had to make a lot of changes going into the first Forbidden Door, but it turned out to be a great show. And that has been also this year. I've had to make changes due to circumstance. You saw Adam Cole here on the crutches. And that changed some things from what I originally thought about doing. Jon Moxley had gotten hurt. That changed a lot of plans. Yet, what I think has been great for AEW is we have so many great stars, and we have a lot of people we can count on to put on a great show time in, time out. So I knew when we came here for Full Gear, we were gonna have a great one. And I felt like tonight was a really, really great way to come into a place where we've had great TV shows, and I think we've had some of our best TV shows, and I wanted to come here and top anything we'd ever done, and I felt like we did. We had some incredible matches that were on a level beyond anything we've ever done when we come to LA, and that was my goal, to like set a new bar here, and we did. And we had the Texas Death Match, which to me was one of the most incredible matches ever in AEW, and I'm biased, but I thought it was one of the greatest matches I've ever seen. And then that is the ultimate high bar. And going into that, there'd already been so much great stuff on the card. And Orange Cassidy was here. I thought Orange Cassidy was just incredible in the Jon Moxley match. Those guys tore the house down. And Julia Hart was here. I thought Julia Hart, Chris Statlander, and Sky Blue was a great match. The ladder match, those guys were in here. They were great. And then the final act of the show, we talked about how Young Bucks and Jericho and Omega were able to really keep the crowd going after they'd seen so much stuff in the Texas Death Match. But then at the end of the show, knowing that the crowd has seen so much, it was a testament, I thought, to MJF and Jay White and how much people wanted to see where the story turned, that the crowd was really on the edge of their seat for the entire last match. And it was different. And I think if people want to see the sports-based presentation in every match, there's 33 matches in the Continental Classic, so get ready, strap in, get ready, every Wednesday and Saturday. The same people who don't want to see any outside interference, I'm not bullshitting, I'm dead serious. If you don't want to see any outside interference, if you want to see straight wrestling at its very best in a great field, then put your money where your fucking mouth is. And Wednesdays and Saturdays, I expect to see you strapped in, because we are going to put on the best wrestling tournament with some of the best matches. And it's a great variety of things. It won't be like the Texas Death Match. There won't be anybody at ringside for Bryce to eject, but certainly it did get a huge reaction when Bryce did eject those guys. And I do think that's what's great about AEW, is the blend of wrestling. So with 33 matches, 12 competitors, 6 weeks of the Continental Classic, and the tournament culminating at World's End, you better believe that's going to be some of the best wrestling on the planet. And I think for the wrestling purists, that's great. That's a great opportunity to see that. And you also got to see so much great stuff up and down the card, whether it was crazy, hard-hitting ladder match, whether it was Orange Cassidy doing everything he could to hang on against Jon Moxley, or again, I thought Sky Blue and Chris Statlander and Julia Hart did so much, and it really had an incredible match. And they were also following an incredibly hard-hitting match in that ladder match, and they were really able to keep the crowd with them. I thought that was hugely impressive. So we showcase a lot of different kinds of wrestling, but I'm very, very serious about what we're about to embark on with the Continental Classic, because I think if you want to see pure wrestling and hard-hitting wrestling and stars fighting stars and sports competition at its best, then that's what we're going to bring to you in the Continental Classic. And I'm also really excited that it's culminating at World's End, which is part of the theme that I wanted to hit on to your question, Jim, because we've had such a big year on pay-per-view, and we got one pay-per-view left, and it's another new event. We've expanded the calendar, and it's been a big success. We started with 4 pay-per-view events, and we did that for the first 3 years, and then we added Forbidden Door, and that was the biggest debut of any of our pay-per-views. And at that point we said, okay, well, we should probably look at the calendar, and there's opportunities here if you can add another pay-per-view, and it's going to launch and debut bigger than any other pay-per-view you've ever done. And so this year, with adding more events, it's gone really well. World's End, the ticket sales are off to a great start, and it feels like we've hit on something. There's a lot of good buzz about the event. You guys were, I guess, all in the arena. The cold open, you guys saw the cold open in the arena. I thought the cold open was a good tease towards World's End and built towards it. And going into 2024, I think we're like trying to build now good momentum, Jim, and create repeatability. I think that's one of the things we've done since we launched AEW is the things we started with. There's like year in, year out, we've built good anticipation to where when we get towards November, people start looking forward to Full Gear, year in, year out. We've built repeatability. I think World's End is a sustainable event. I think the Continental Classic is going to be a sustainable event. We've already launched new events, Wrestle Dream, a sustainable event, and then most importantly, like I keep saying, the biggest thing is Wembley. I think we hit on something bigger than anything certainly we've ever hit on, and one of the biggest things anybody has ever hit on in wrestling. Like, it'll be really in the history books as one of the biggest successes anyone's ever had. So that will be something really important for us to go back and look at next year too.
Got a couple more.
Yeah, it's great.
Tony Joel Torres from Contralona. We haven't spoken about Sting and the match that they had, Adam Copeland and Darby Allin. His retirement also, his last match here in LA. What's it gonna be, in his retirement? What is AEW planning to do with Sting, with this big retirement, and also AEW Revolution? Date, place, where is it gonna be?
Well, again, it's very fitting transition because I just told Jim, I think people know what time of year to expect Revolution. And as for those details, and we're still building towards that, towards Sting's final match. There's still a lot of time left. This was only Sting's last match in California, but there's a lot of great cities and states still to come for Sting. And as we build towards Revolution, I mean, I wish I could put off Revolution and not have Sting retire. But we're going to miss him when he does, and we're savoring every moment. The match tonight was incredible. The reaction to Sting was amazing. I really appreciate you asking. That is something that I'm arguably the proudest of everything we've done in AEW, is what we've been able to do with Sting. When Sting came to AEW, he had not had the great send-off, in my opinion. It wasn't the right way for Sting to end his career, and now in AEW we're writing the final chapters of his career, and now we're about to find out how it ends. And it's really exciting because when Sting came to AEW in 2020, nobody, I don't believe, expected he would have this 3-year run and all these amazing matches. And when you look at over the 3 years and all the highlights, certainly this has been a really important chapter in his career, and these are going to be the final chapters in his career. So it's important that we do right by him, because Sting is one of the greatest legends and one of the greatest people I've ever known or worked with. And tonight was a great way to end the California chapter of Sting's career, and Sting is an LA guy. He's a hometown guy, so for him to have that hometown moment, it was a big deal. And Sting is also 24-0 in AEW now. And at 24-0, it's a very impressive streak he's built over these past few years. And Revolution 24 will mark 3 years in AEW since he debuted, and it'll be interesting to see where he stands as he approaches Revolution 24, and to see will Sting go into that undefeated.
Last two questions. Denise first.
Well, kind of a two-part question first. I want to piggyback off of the Sting question because you had mentioned in previous media scrums that you were going to let Sting wrestle as long as he wanted to. And so when you, obviously being a fan first and then promoter, when you got the news rather that Sting said, okay, that's it, you know what, I'm going to be done now wrestling, what was your reaction? And then my second part question is involving Bryan Danielson, because Bryan is also going to, you mentioned not be wrestling full time, so I want to get your thoughts on that as well.
Yeah. Well, those are two people I really value a lot. Those are two people I wish would stay here in AEW forever. With Sting, that's a great question. We talked about it, and I said, Sting, I would like for you to stay as long as possible here, and we really value you. And he said it's not really years at this point, it's more like months. And that was hard to hear, but it made sense. And I would have loved to have stretched it out as long as possible, but I pointed out that he had debuted at Revolution 21, and that maybe 3 years would be a fitting conclusion to this whole thing. And, he's amassed this great record, and going in tonight, they were 23-0. And to have Sting going for 3 years, to be chasing that final great moment and to have this great send-off, I thought that was really cool, and he liked that a lot. So when I said that, he really took to that idea, and we went from there. So at that point, we started talking about Revolution, and when he went out and addressed the crowd in Houston and said that it's going to be my last year and that Revolution is the end, that was after we talked about it and kind of come up with, based on how he was feeling, that felt, because he's feeling good. I think he wants to go out on top, and I think that's what we all want. So I'm glad he came to me and told me that. And then about Bryan Danielson, it's funny because that was different. It's also 3 years, but it was 3 years by design, because Bryan also arrived and Bryan also made his debut in 2021. Sting made his first appearance in 2020, but he had his first wrestling match at Revolution 2021. Bryan made his first appearance here at All Out 21. And when Bryan came in, we had made an agreement that he was going to wrestle for 3 years, and then he was going to go home and be a dad. And it was like one of those deals that sounds really good, but it's like you're watching the sand in the hourglass now. And for me personally, as I look at it, we're getting closer and closer to the end of that 3-year deal, and it's getting harder and harder for me to think about the end. But in doing so, I wanted to make sure we make this last year for Bryan Danielson the best possible year we can, because I think he's been so important to AEW. And for anybody who's come in since the beginning, of all the people who've arrived after and joined us along the journey, I think Bryan Danielson's been as important or more important than anybody. And I really have so much appreciation for him. And when I wanted to make sure this last year for him is the best possible year AEW could offer him, that's really what inspired me to put together the Continental Classic. And when I knew that he would be available earlier than people expected to come back and finish the year out strong, that was really exciting. And then I think it speaks to the power of the influence Bryan Danielson has on wrestling fans, that when they heard he was going to be in the field, it instantly legitimizes the competition and tells people what it's going to be, and it got a lot of buzz. It was so buzzworthy that you had top stars lining up. Last night we heard Andrade El Idolo said he wants to be in the competition. He is going to be in the competition. And you heard tonight Mark Briscoe wants to be in the competition. Those are some of the best wrestlers in AEW. I think some of the best wrestlers in the world. And then to take it to another level, you had Eddie Kingston, who's a world champion and a champion overseas for a promotion, New Japan Pro Wrestling, that has a domestic territory that really, where Eddie Kingston represents not only Ring of Honor, but New Japan Pro Wrestling and a wrestling company in Japan that does shows in America. He's a world champion for Ring of Honor. He's a champion here in America and in Japan for New Japan. And he's saying, I want to put up everything I worked my whole life, my life's work, to join this tournament, to be in this field. And now we have something very prestigious, and people, when the tournament started, people were so excited about it, and I saw like 99.9% positivity after Bryan announced he was going to be in the field. And I think so much of that was down to the idea that Bryan was in there and the credibility it offers. And now the more we learn, the more that we learn about the tournament, I think the more excited people are going to be. And so much of it is a testament to Bryan. And when he was in the tournament, when he announced he was in it, I think that inspired the locker room, where a lot of the other people in AEW wanted to be in the tournament to compete with him, and that speaks to his influence. Also with Bryan Danielson, he is backstage a great mentor to a lot of the talent. And when he's not here, we miss him. It's been hard with him not being able to fly. So it's been really in recent weeks, Bryan, catch up on the phone, text and stuff, but we miss him backstage. So it'll be great also with the Continental Classic, with Bryan coming back. It'll be great having him back at AEW because we've really missed him. He couldn't even travel to work backstage with us. It's ever since he had that injury, he hasn't been able to fly. But thankfully, it turned out to be not as serious as we'd feared at one point. We thought he might be out even longer, and that's one of the real blessings, and I think that's one of the things that's going to make the Continental Classic such an exciting competition and keep raising the bar, and that's what I want to do for his last year. So for Sting and Bryan Danielson, they're very different wrestlers, and you're all connoisseurs of pro wrestling. You all know they've had great careers, but they're also really different. And I feel like even if you haven't spent, 10,000 hours with each of them, you all kind of might have enough of a sense to understand they both approach wrestling differently, and they both have a different kind of appreciation for wrestling, yet they both have the same love for wrestling, and they both are two of the most genuine people in AEW. Their styles are very different, their careers have been very different, but they're two of our biggest stars, and we really appreciate having them here and are going to try and make the most of them while they're here.